But Skype really was used to speak to your family overseas or whatever. There was no Google Meetings, there was no Zoom, there were no webinars. And so if I owned a traditional real estate company back 20 years ago, and I wanted to grow, I first of all had to pick a geographic location. I had to pick a suburb that I was going to now put a footprint in. And then in order to recruit agents, I needed to interview them, and that required me to do that in person in a building that I was paying for. And then once I'd recruited a whole bunch of agents, in order to bring them into some kind of team where they felt supported and they were having some kind of collaboration, and I would do training for them, etc., all of that had to be done in person, in an office, with a bunch of staff for the office that I was paying for. So the traditional model of real estate has been dramatically impacted by the advance of being able to transact online. All that was slowly beginning to change in 2020. Okay, already you were starting to see some people put their toe in the water of maybe trying a cloud-based business. But then something happened in 2020 that drove the entire world into meeting and transacting online, and it radically accelerated the development of the technologies to help us do business online. What was that? COVID. So here we are today, just 5 years after COVID, and it doesn't even seem strange to us that we now do most of our events and our interviews and our training and our team meetings and our mastermind groups and so many more things online. The world has completely changed in the last 5 years. New technology, enter disruption. Okay, then the third predictor of disruption, according to the folks at Harvard, is this thing that they call business model rigidity. Okay, so let me read that to you. In industries that are ripe for disruption, what you often find is that the existing old school businesses actually cannot pursue the new model without destroying their existing business. Okay, so that's what they call business model rigidity. You actually are inflexible. You cannot change your business model even if you see the industry's going in another direction, because if you do, you'll cripple yourself. So a great example of that is Kodak. Now, when you think of Kodak, I'm sure you don't think of the digital camera. When you think of Kodak, you think of those old black spools, for those of you who are as old as I am, that you used to open the back flap of your camera and you put a spool in there and wind it a little bit. You know, that's what you think of when you think of Kodak. Maybe you think of those orange disposable cameras. But do you know that Kodak actually invented the digital camera way back in 1975? But the problem was that by far the majority of Kodak's income as a company came from the sale of film, the chemicals that were used in the developing of film in all of the outlets around the world, the photo paper that they printed the photos on, and the printing machinery, and then the maintenance of those machinery and replacement parts for the printers. You see, the truth is that Kodak were never a camera company. They were a consumables company. And their entire income model was built around recurring income. People having to buy film and chemicals over and over again. And of course, digital photography completely eliminated all of the recurring revenue. And so they couldn't embrace it. And so their digital camera stayed in the vault, so to speak, at Kodak since 1975. Because they would have destroyed their existing business if they had embraced digital. Which is what opened the door for companies like Kodak and Nikon, Nikon and Canon to come on the scene and completely dominate the digital photography market. Okay, so let's talk about old school real estate companies and business model rigidity. If I'm the owner of a traditional real estate franchise company, think of the first one that pops into your mind. And I've got a head office somewhere, and maybe I've got some regional offices in the major provinces of South Africa, and then I've got local estate agency offices on every street of every town, there's one in every town and every suburb of the major cities. I've got hundreds and hundreds of offices all over the country. All of those offices have got staff and infrastructure in them. Do you understand that even if I do see that real estate is going online, and even if I can see that my agents can be supported better, truth be told, and compensated better if I do embrace a cloud-based model, do you understand that even if I wanted to, I could not go cloud-based without completely destroying myself financially? What am I going to do with all of those offices around the country? What are we going to do with all the long-term leases that we've signed? What are we going to do with all the staff in all of those offices? What are we going to do with all the people we've signed franchise agreements with? Folks, do you understand that the old school real estate companies have got a real problem? Business model rigidity. They're locked in. And that, of course, has created a massive gap for a cloud-based disruptor. Okay, then lastly, the fourth predictor of disruption is what Harvard called the network effect. So this is how they put it. Industries are ripe for disruption when a newcomer can quickly create a network effect within the community of their clients. Okay, what's this all about? Well, one of the biggest problems that the traditional model agencies have is how to create a truly collaborative culture across the entire company, across the country. And I know that because one of South Africa's biggest real estate companies, maybe the biggest, approached me a number of years ago, desperate for me to help them get the agents in their various offices around the country to start referring clients to each other. Seemed like a good idea, because it was never happening. See, the truth is that although the traditional model agencies, they have the same color, they have the same logo, they have the same branding above all of the offices in every town and city around South Africa, the truth is the agents in those offices never get to build relationships with each other and to collaborate with each other. And I'm not talking about the annual conference at Sun City. I'm talking about being able to build a truly collaborative culture, agents all around the country on a daily basis of building relationships with each other and going on a journey, building their businesses together and collaborating. That's what we're talking about. And I can tell you now, the old school real estate companies have failed to do that. What the researchers at Harvard tell us is that lack of collaborative culture opens the door. There is a newcomer into the industry that can genuinely bring people together all around the country in a meaningful, collaborative way. All right, so that then leads us to the next question. This is the second of the three headings. Why could EXP Realty step in so effectively? And I'll just briefly comment on each one of these. Let's talk about overserved customers, so we'll go through each of them one by one. So just remember the basic economics. You're an old school real estate company. All the brick and mortar offices you've got around the country and all of the layers of staff in all of those brick and mortar offices are driving up the cost and complexity of your business, which means you have to take a bigger split from your agents. That's the basic economics of the old school model. But here's the question. Let's think about overserving customers. Do agents actually care about brick and mortar offices? And I can tell you the answer to that question is no. The other question you ask then is, okay, let's talk about local management. All of these layers of staff, of local management in each of these offices. Do agents care about local management? Well, I've learned the answer to those two questions is no. Agents will join a cloud-based business if, number one, there is a well-built collaborative culture. If they feel like, man, this is a good place to be. And how many of you EXP agents would say you've made more friends with more agents from all around the country, and you've shared deals with agents from every area all around the country more than you ever did in your brick and mortar business where you were based in office? Look at all the hands. That's the culture of EXP. So, agents will join a cloud-based business if there's a truly collaborative culture. Secondly, if the technology that the company gives them does truly, honestly empower them to build their business successfully without an office and without an admin person. In other words, if the systems are good enough. And folks, that's not a theory anymore. 1,500 agents have joined us in 5 years. We know that agents will join a cloud-based business. Okay, so because EXP, what this means is, because EXP had been able to strip out the cost and complexity of brick and mortar offices and all of the local management, the layers of staff, it makes them far more profitable than other real estate companies, which means they can compensate you, the agent, far better in a way that the traditional agency simply cannot do. All right, new technology. All I want to say on new technology is use this as an illustration of how powerful EXP's technology is. Over the last 5 years, we've built one of the biggest real estate companies in this country, and yet get this, as a staff complement, EXP only has 24 staff members in South Africa. 24 staff for 1,500 agents in every province scattered right across South Africa, 24 staff members. Folks, our competitors who are a similar size to us have got hundreds of staff members in buildings all over South Africa. And again, why that's important is because it makes EXP far more efficient, and efficiency means profitability. And their profitability means that they can now give you a great split with a cap and give you shares in the company and let you keep all your third-party incomes and share the revenues of the company every month with you if you help to attract other agents to the company. That's why their compensation plan is so good. Then the third one is business model rigidity. Again, the point is obvious here. EXP did not have any business model rigidity. They didn't have to protect an old school disaster of hundreds of offices with staff all around the country. They could just come into the country, they've got all the technology, and they just built a cloud-based business from the start. They didn't have the rigidity, and so they became the disruptor. And then the last one is the network effect. So traditional agencies struggle to get their agents to collaborate. Well, EXP completely changed that when their model brings every agent in the country into one shared environment. One shared environment. So there's one community of agents, there's one leadership team, there's one principal, there's one conversation. In my own group, there's one WhatsApp group for 1,000 agents, one team meeting, family time, every 2 weeks on a Monday, you're all invited. People from all around the country, we do celebrations and kudos and thank yous, we share. We've seen friendships develop right around the country. It's one conversation, one culture. And no special deals. Everybody's on the same deal wherever you are in the country. If you're the brand new candidate or you're the 50-year veteran, everyone's on the same deal. No special deals for someone in the office. And that momentum, folks, of this network effect, of this collaborative community, the momentum we have as a company, I might be wrong, but I think it's going to be very difficult to stop. Okay, then lastly, finishing with this, what this means for you. Well, my belief is that because these 4 indicators of disruption are still relevant for 99% of the estate agencies in South Africa, there is still massive scope for disruption in South Africa. We're only just getting started, and the technology is going to get better and better and better. And folks, what that means for you is this. You can now work at a real estate company where you earn more money, you build a shareholding in US dollars, you create substantial passive income through revenue share, you enjoy complete independence without the burden of ownership, you build your business on the most advanced cloud-based real estate platform, and you belong to the most collaborative, supportive, global agent community in the world, all the while building your future with a brand that is poised for growth, not extinction. EXP Realty. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Please welcome to the stage EXP International's Head of European Growth and UK Country Leader Adam Day, EXP France Country Leader Samuel Ko, and EXP New Zealand Country Leader Matt Jones.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Take a seat. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
good afternoon, everybody. Great to be here. We're going to talk today about opening new markets and basically how to do it with actual real life examples and stories and value for the audience here to tell them and explain how we've done that. So, Samuel, you've grown France to 800 agents, is that right?
800? No, before the end of the month, I hope so.
Ah, okay. Well done.
Not really.
Okay, yeah, you're on a clock on that
780,
one.
maybe.
Okay, awesome. Tell us how, that's pretty close, so well done.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah, round of applause.
I'm transparent.
It's one of our values, Samuel.
Ah.
Yes, and I've been told I've got to talk slowly for Samuel. So tell us how you've done that anyway. Tell us how you got started with EXP, a bit of background about you.
A little of background, so I am French, of course. That's the first point, so very special. No, more seriously, in fact, when I have the opportunity of EXP, I begin by a belief. I really believe that was a nice opportunity for the market. So it was at the end of 2020, and we really launched at 2021 without no agents, no system, no so much things, but that was the part I love because we have everything to do with a fantastic model and with a team who was building all the things we need. So it was really something day by day to just make calls. Just I have 25 years of experience in real estate. And I put my experience in the industry to the service of EXP and just build it by calls, by networking, by going on the road, by explaining the model. And I think, yeah, if you believe on something, you can make people believe on what you are believing. So it's what I done during the first year. And also maybe this point, it was important for me, I am an agent first, and to have the best tools for the agents. And operation was really something, and it's still the case, really important for me because we need to give the best for agents. And it's not possible to have some long-term agent with us if we don't give them what they need to do the business. So it was one of my first decision to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, you're newer to EXP. You're one of our very newer country leaders. You were at another brokerage beforehand and you came over. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So funnily enough, and it kind of seems like what I achieved has paled in comparison to what you guys achieved here, guys. Thanks, by the way, South Africa, for having me. I appreciate it. It's a beautiful city. Yes, I built funnily enough, a remote work, own branded, well-paying agency. And so when EXP came along, I took a little look at it. I said, well, it's well paid and it's some brand freedom and freedom to do your business your way. My company, by the way, was called Independent Agents. So I hear the word independent agency, comes around a lot. So there was a whole lot of synergy and a whole lot of similarity. There are a couple of real golden portions of EXP that I just loved. For my salespeople, they could get to 100% equity, revenue share, all these things that I dreamed about adding into my business. You guys already had. And then I met some of the leadership, and they were amazing.
Because it took about 18 months, didn't it?
Yeah, I took my time.
What made you say yes, other than Felix getting you in a headlock?
Yeah, he did get me in a bit of a headlock, and he's a charming man, and he's a great salesperson. So if you're here from another country, I warn you, he's a great salesperson, but he keeps his promises. Look, I went to Miami in 2024, I think that same day that Wendy spoke about, and it already had a sense of inevitability to it. I just had to get there. It took me 18 months to get there. I had a few value proposition elements I wanted to make sure we could bring in. I wanted to make sure my people would be looked after, and they were. But the value proposition, the value to the agents, and the alignment of values, I guess.
Yeah. And Samuel, so France obviously didn't grow overnight. What were the actual steps you took? You've kind of touched on the network that you've got. What were the actual steps you took to start growing France from day one?
Find the good people, find the good agents. So one by one.
How did you find them?
Networking, socials, press. So in fact, just to be the brand and to show a new brand. We have a really dynamic, really competitive market in France with already some digital company, not like EXP, but sort of. So it was really to say something is new, and we are globally. And just after that, I took contact with a lot of agents. I do a lot of calls, a lot. It was like 10 meet every day. It's still a lot of meet every day, but it was like 10 every day. And of course, go to the road, meet the agent, speak with the agents, on 1, 2, 10 agents, 50 agents. And at the end of the first year, we were closely 100 agents. That was not ready to scale. That was the first step to continue the job. And I still continue the same things I did during the first year. After that, of course, find the good stuff, because it's not possible to do it alone. So you should have the good people to help you during the day for transaction, for onboarding, etc. So
Yeah, Mr. Consistent, very consistent.
yeah.
Just over and over again, repeat the same things over and over again. Good. So Matt, you're in the early phase right now. What are you, 3 months in, 4 months in?
1st of December, we sort of
Okay.
made the switch. Yeah.
So what surprised you most about EXP?
Like, to be told things like, it's likely that our culture in New Zealand is going to, and the culture we bring is going to affect EXP New Zealand's culture more than, say, the international or the American culture. That kind of thing surprised me enormously. I think just the potential for networking, like we're not even touching it yet. We're not scraping the surface of what's available to us. Things like, as you guys have been talking about, the referral network, we haven't got, in New Zealand, we haven't got a base big enough for huge referral, but we haven't even looked outside of the country either yet. Just these, every time we open a door, there's more opportunities there, and I think it's certainly been surprising. And we've got a bunch of people who are just have leaned right in. Like I expected a bit of resistance, which we got, but people leaning into the revenue share, leaning into the share options.
And you brought a team over with you, didn't you?
About 50 people came with.
How did you convince them? What were the because that is a big question mark for those agents already with you.
It was a challenge. We came from a small local sort of Kiwi-made, New Zealand-made agency to an American-made, agency. But it was just a real reiteration, like this is an enhancement to the business. This is an ability for you guys to grow certainly beyond our shores. And also, you're going to be paid better. Like EXP can pay better than I can, so there you have it.
Yeah, and that's because of the scale we've got, isn't it?
Because of the scale.
Did you have anyone leave?
We did. We did have
you?
people leave. There's some, a little bit like what Samuel said there, there's some similar businesses. They got wind of as they do, they got wind of the change, they got on the phone. It's funny, some people I expected loyalty from shifted. Some people I didn't expect loyalty from became loyal. And of course, people, as you expect, behave as they expect as well. So it was a journey. I might write a book one day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, actually, the teams coming over in the US, they tend to lose agents. You don't get all 150 agents coming over. You tend to lose 10 to 15, 20%. So if there are team leaders here that are thinking of looking at EXP, you may well lose a couple of people.
Yeah.
But I think the overall opportunity, obviously, for you is much greater. And you've had teams join as well, haven't you, Samuel?
Can I say, I guess, I'm like you all, I'm an overachiever. I was aiming for 100% conversion rate, and I certainly, didn't get that. Lost about 20%. What I will say, if there are, countries looking and team leaders looking, I have very quickly, in fact, it's frustrating. The time zone here is at minus 11 hours from home, but I've got emails coming in. We've spoken in the past few years. I've heard you've gone to EXP. I need to talk to you. So I'm booking up next week. Next week is booked with appointments for people interested in EXP. There we go.
Love that. We're talking about other countries. Obviously, I'm going to just ask you guys to give some advice. So I've met a lot of people here already, actually, just today, who are in other countries where we're not currently in, where EXP are not currently in. What advice would you give to those people in opening new markets, just between the two of you? Samuel, you go first. That's a long time ago you opened France, so I'm not sure if you remember for this far
I
back.
forgot.
Yeah.
No, of course, I think the fact that EXP, main of the country leader or all country leader are agent before is really a good thing because we know what we need as an agent. And I think that's really important to perfectly know the job, to perfectly know the competition, to benchmark it, to follow all the innovation, all I embrace the socials. It was not the case 5 years ago. I was not on Facebook. I am posting on LinkedIn like not every day, but 3 or 4. I listen Wendy and I choose LinkedIn, only one, mostly one, and I am posting like 4 or 5 times a day. I have more than 1.5 million of view every year. So it's really visibility for free. So I think that's really to know the market, and to become the brand, because you are an ambassador of EXP Realty. You are really the picture of EXP, and I think that's really important. Probably the same for every country, but it was the case in France. It was really important. I think it's the same for South Africa, to respect the culture. France is not US, it's not UK. I think you do the same, Adam, in UK. And really to adapt, not the model, because the model don't change, but to adapt all the things around the model to the French system, to the French culture. And really, I think the most important things.
Okay. And Matt, what about you? What tips would you give? Obviously, having just gone through that process, what if someone's opening a new market, wants to open a new market, what would you be advising?
I think, like, before you tell your team, know what you're going to tell them. No, like, because this EXP is enormous and there's so much to it. But I think refine the value proposition to the simplest way that you can. And for me, really, the thing I talk about when because people are mostly interested, aren't they, Mindy, about what's in their pocket? That's what's most important, really. So I just want to say, we've got, there's the split up to 140,000 in our country. You get 75%, and you get 100%. That's where I sort of start, and that's the simple. That's why everyone understands that, and that's for me probably the most effective conversations I've had has been just keeping it simple. Once it's clear in my head, then I can very clearly explain.
Yeah, good. Just picking up on Samuel's point about LinkedIn, that is your secret weapon, guys, in my opinion, because on LinkedIn you can practically connect with people rather than to wait for followers to follow you on Instagram and places like that. So, and it's a place of work where people want to go to find out opportunities, career opportunities. And I don't see people using LinkedIn enough other than who has 30,000 followers, is it?
So 33 or 34, yeah.
Yeah.
And I am receiving leads like every week. I would say every day, but I think it's every day, yeah.
Yeah, and LinkedIn for me has been massively powerful. So get yourselves
And
on
it's
LinkedIn. Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
It's your time. But
So, Samuel, France is a special country, as we know. Very,
sorry,
very special.
my surname is very special, and I
What-
like it.
But it's heavily regulated. Why has EXP worked in France, where maybe other American brokerages haven't worked out quite so well? Apart from you, of course.
No, some brokerage is working in France, some franchise brokerage is working in France. But some struggle a lot. Like Max is working in many countries, but not in France at all. Keller Williams and Trupol actually in France. I think that's the big difference is the franchise model on the model like us, like a global company. My first real estate brokerage, I was franchisee at Coldwell Banker. They really struggle in France. They disappear after 7 years. The master franchise disappear. Why? Because in fact, I go back to my point. They don't take a point